Independence is happiness. I distrust those people who know so well what God wants them to do, because I notice it always coincides with their own desires. No self-respecting woman should wish or work for the success of a party who ignores her sex. It was we, the people, not we, the white male citizens, nor yet we, the male citizens, but we, the whole people, who formed the Union. And we formed it, not to give the blessings of liberty, but to secure them, not to the half of ourselves and the half of our posterity, but to the whole people, women as well as men. There never will be complete equality until women themselves help to make laws and elect lawmakers. Men, their rights, and nothing more. Women, their rights, and nothing less. I declare to you that woman must not depend upon the protection of man, but must be taught to protect herself, and there I take my stand. She who succeeds in gaining the mastery of the bicycle will gain the mastery of life. Trust me that as I ignore all law to help the slave, so will I ignore it all to protect an enslaved woman. No man is good enough to govern any woman without her consent. An oligarchy of race, where the Saxon rules the African, might be endured. But this oligarchy of sex which makes father, brothers, husband, sons, the oligarchs over the mother and sisters, the wife and daughters of every household, carries discord and rebellion into every home of the nation. Suffrage is the pivotal right. The worst enemy women have is in the pulpit. If women will not accept marriage with subjection, nor men proffer it without, there can be no alternative. The women who will not be ruled must live without marriage. And during this transition period, single women make comfortable and attractive homes for themselves. I do not demand equal pay for any women save those who do equal work in value. Scorn to be coddled by your employers. Make them understand that you are in their service as workers, not as women. It is downright mockery to talk to women of their enjoyment of the blessings of liberty while they are denied the use of the only means of securing them provided by this democratic Republican government, the ballot. The older I get, the greater power I seem to have to help the world. I am like a snowball. The further I am rolled, the more I gain. I shall earnestly and persistently continue to urge all women to the practical recognition of the old revolutionary maxim. Resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. Organize, agitate, educate, must be our war cry. Failure is impossible. I think the girl who is able to earn her own living and pay her own way should be as happy as anybody on earth. The sense of independence and security is very sweet. Modern invention has banished the spinning wheel, and the same law of progress makes the woman of today a different woman from her grandmother. No one can doubt that the sufferings of the sober, virtuous woman, in legal subjection to the mastership of a drunken, immoral husband and father over herself and children, not only from physical abuse, but from spiritual shame and humiliation, must be such as the man himself cannot possibly comprehend. Oh, if I could but live another century and see the fruition of all the work for women! There is so much yet to be done. The only question left to be settled now is, are women persons? And I hardly believe any of our opponents will have the hardihood to say they are not. The day may be approaching when the whole world will recognize woman as the equal of man. Being persons, then, women are citizens, and no state has a right to make any new law, or to enforce any old law, that shall abridge their privileges or immunities.
We throw to the winds the old dogma that governments can give rights. Before governments were organized, no one denies that each individual possessed the right to protect his own life, liberty and property.
Marriage, to women as to men, must be a luxury, not a necessity. An incident of life, not all of it.
Join the union, girls, and together say equal pay for equal work.
I do not consider divorce an evil by any means. It is just as much a refuge for women married to brutal men as Canada was to the slaves of brutal masters. Women, we might as well be dogs baying the moon as petitioners without the right to vote. There is not a woman born who desires to eat the bread of dependence.
To think, I have had more than 60 years of hard struggle for a little liberty, and then to die without it seems so cruel.
It is poor rule that won't work more ways than one.
The Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, the constitutions of the several states, and the organic laws of the territories all alike propose to protect the people in the exercise of their God-given rights. Not one of them pretends to bestow rights. If all the rich and all of the church people should send their children to the public schools, they would feel bound to concentrate their money on improving these schools until they met the highest ideals.
Woman must have a purse of her own. And how can this be so long as the law denies to the wife all right to both the individual and the joint earnings?
I don't want to die as long as I can work. The minute I cannot, I want to go. I have encountered riotous mobs and have been hung in effigy, but my motto is, men's rights are nothing more. Women's rights are nothing less. Cautious, careful people, always casting about to preserve their reputations, can never effect a reform. What you should do is to say to outsiders that a Christian has neither more nor less rights in our association than an atheist.